We've recruited the help of Mitch and Ethan from Oddshark here to break it all down. We got game one going tomorrow night. We want to talk the series at large. We want to talk about, potential MVP candidates here in the World Series. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. How you doing? You guys have to be excited as well.
Fired up.
Yeah, this is the dream matchup. I feel like we were on the show maybe a month ago, beginning of the playoffs, talking about what would be the most fun World Series. I think we threw out Mets Yankees, which almost happened, but we got the number one. We got the two big boys.
Yeah, so Mitch, talk to me about that then. Like, we get Dodgers Yanks, we get Shohei Judge, Mookie, Soto, Giancarlo Stanton, on and on and on. The two markets, the star power. Do you think this ends up being the biggest World Series of all time? And like, I think the first four games last season were in terms of TV ratings, which is a bit of an archaic metric, but the lowest of all time. Like, how big is this bounce back going to be?
Yeah, I think TV ratings, this is going to do numbers for sure. But when I think like the best World Series or the biggest World Series in recent memory, it's not necessarily like the big matchups. I think this World Series has the potential. It has everything in place. But the most fun World Series are the ones that go seven. They're the ones that have big moments. They're the ones that grow in excitement as the series goes on. There was that 2016 Cubs-Indians. It was a huge series that built to that rain delay in Game 7. Go back to 2011. It's Cardinals-Rangers, another 7-game series. The Game 6 David Freese. Like, I think this series has all of the pieces in place, but this can't be a 5-game series. It would flop if it was a 5-game series. We need the big boys to deliver. I need Shohei Ohtani coming out of the bullpen in like a 13th inning because they have no other arms left. I need an Aaron Judge walk-off grand slam. Like, you need the big moments in order to get everyone to buy in for the last couple of games.
Just want to address this one. Maybe Ethan, you can address this. Will too much rest hurt the teams here? I mean, it's been a few days since both these teams clinched. Is that going to play a factor in game one, which goes down tomorrow?
The only thing I would say about rest, having a negative impact would be potentially on hitters' timing. Like, I think a lot of Yankees hitters, especially, red hot. Like, Giancarlo Stanton had 4 homers in the ALCS. That was huge. Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts and the dudes picked it up in the NLCS. So, and even Aaron Judge actually was coming around at the end, getting his OPS above 700. So that's where I would see there being some negative impact for pitchers. I think this rest is a godsend. Guys are going to be throwing their side sessions, some intense side sessions anyway. So I'm not really sure that it impacts pitchers very much. And then on the Dodgers side, it's an especially pertinent break because they've been ripping bullpen days for a while. So I think the rest is ultimately beneficial, but maybe it'll add a few extra jitters to some of those hitters in the early stretch of this World Series.
I enjoy your guys' content. One of the things that you guys do really well is looking at that batter versus pitcher data. And I know it's an AL team versus an NL team, so that data may not be quite as rich. But are there any nuggets in there that stand out for you guys of histories of guys struggling against particular pitchers or crushing particular pitchers in this matchup?
We might get to this later, but one guy I noticed is Kike Hernandez. He's basically got the number of every single starter the Yankees are going to pitch in this series. Spoiler alert, I'm going to mention him as a sleeper World Series MVP pick because he's also super clutch in October. His slugging percentage goes from like 400 during the regular season to 540 in the postseason. So he's the number one guy. He's not the Ohtani, the Judge, the Stanton, but he's got the number of a lot of guys.
Ethan, we've got the two best offenses in baseball in this one. We've got the best record in the AL against the best record in the NL, the AL home run leader against the NL home run leader. You talked about potentially the rest messing with hitters' timing. The Dodgers, a 4-seam pitching staff, largely. The Yankees hit very, very well. The Yankees sort of rely on changeups from their staff. What matchup on the field of play here, or in the dugout if it comes down to coaching, but what matchup are you looking at the most here in this series?
For me, I'm definitely going to have a microscope on the Dodgers bullpen. They are essentially operating a World Series now with 2 starting pitchers. They have Jack Flaherty and they have Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and then that's it. They're going to need some quality innings from their bullpen down the stretch against a really good Yankees top of the order. Now, this has somehow functioned successfully, through the DS, through the CS for the Dodgers, largely because they've just kind of slugged their way to oblivion. They've hit 20 homers in 11 playoff games. That's huge. And when they've won pretty big. And when they've lost, the bullpen is kind of unraveled and it's gotten away from them really quickly. So for me, I'm going to be watching on those bullpen days, especially how the first few arms out of that pen are attacking the top of the Yankees order, 3, 4, first 5 hitters, especially, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, and Giancarlo Stanton. So that matchup is not going to, that element is not going to present itself for a couple games. But once we get back to those games at Yankee Stadium, I do believe the bullpen will make quite a big impact.
I want to talk game 1 here and get your guys' picks momentarily. But in terms of World Series winner, Mitch, you're talking about potentially this one going 7 games. Yanks plus 104, Dodgers minus 122. Pretty good value here on either side. I'll start with you, Mitch. I mean, who's winning this thing?
As much as it pains me to say, I'm going with the team that I said would win the World Series back at the beginning of the year, the New York Yankees. I think it's gotten there in a very different way than I thought it would, but their pitching advantage is real for this series. Ethan just touched on it. The Dodgers are 2 starters and a bunch of bullpen arms, and those 2 starters have both had blow-up games in October already. Jack Flaherty had one last series. Yamamoto had one, I believe, in his first start of the postseason. That's really scary. The Dodgers basically can't afford to lose any of the Yamamoto or Flaherty starts. I just trust the Yankees bullpen more, which is a crazy thing to say, given what they did in the second half of the season. I trust the starters more. Garrett Cole isn't himself, but he's still the best pitcher in this series, I believe. Carlos Rodon looks legit his last few starts. As much as I think the Dodgers have a great lineup, I think the Yankees can slug there right with them. So the pitching's the big edge for me, and I'm going with the plus money team.
Ethan, are you aligned there? Because I agree as an outsider, just keeping an eye on baseball, tuning in a bit more in the playoffs. Yanks plus 104, that would be my bet if I get into this market. But are you aligned with Mitch there?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Mitch. I do think the Yankees, pitching and defense, not that the Yankees are an elite defensive squad by any measure, but, sharp pitching in the limited opportunities you have from your starting pitcher, that's huge in October. And I do think, as Mitch laid it out, the Yankees have the greater volume of pitchers. Listen, Garrett Cole is definitely, he does have the possibility of becoming a victim to this red hot Dodgers offense, as does Carlos Rodon, a couple guys, but it's more so the back end of that rotation, right? Nestor Cortez is probably going to be available out of the bullpen. You're going to see Clark Schmidt. You're going to see Luis Heel, who could be, the AL Rookie of the Year at some point. So to me, you could call it a wash, let's say, with their batting orders. The Yankees bullpen, gives me some trepidation, but at the end of the day, that rotation and maybe some of those guys will turn into relievers in a pinch. If Clark Schmidt struggles, maybe there's Garrett Cole on short rest, or Luis Heel coming out of the bullpen. Aaron Boone will find ways to maximize that advantage. And I think ultimately that's what's going to decide the series.
Let's look at World Series MVP markets here. And I know we've already got a spoiler alert down, but Mitch, what do you like here? Shohei obviously at the top, Judge right behind him, Juan Soto there. But then you look a little bit down, and Kike Hernandez there looking kind of good.
Yeah, he's a juicy plus 3,000. He'd probably be my value pick, but I just told you the Yankees are going to win the World Series, so I kind of have to pick a Yankee to win World Series MVP too. I like the big guy. I like Aaron Judge. I know this is the craziest thing you'll ever hear from me, considering I'm a very numbers-based bettor. He's due. John Carlos Stanton has carried the load. Glaber has been good already. It's time for Aaron Judge to buck up. And good for Aaron Judge. He faces a Dodgers team where he has a 1,500 career OPS against them. He has 8 homers in 10 career games against the Dodgers. This is the perfect get-right spot in the biggest spot of the year for the big man. So I'm taking him at plus 500.
Ethan, over to you.
I'm shooting for a little bit more value, but keeping with the Yankees theme, of course. Giancarlo Stanton won the ALCS MVP. I do like him at plus 950 to win World Series MVP. 4 homers in the postseason, I believe 5 or 6 in total. And the big difference for me with Stanton is that I'm watching his at bats closely, and his batting average is low. That's fine. He's not necessarily a contact dude, but I'm noticing the walk to strikeout ratio. Really making some dramatic changes in the postseason. I think he's 5 walks to 7 strikeouts, which by Stanton's standards is quite well. He's seeing the ball well, and I think he's understanding what his skills are, and exercising a little bit of patience to zone in on pitches that he can do damage with. And when he finds those, he unloads. And I mean, at the end of the day, what does it take to win the World Series MVP, right? You need a couple clutch hits, 4, 5 RBIs if you're not hitting, multiple homers. I think Stanton is super capable of that. And I do think the Yankees are going to come out on top. So that's where I'm leaning in terms of the World Series MVP.
I know we say it all the time on this show, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Like, always shop around for these numbers. Like, week to week in the NFL, MLB games, you can save 20 cents on a line, 10 cents on a line. We're talking about World Series MVP. It might be the difference between 34 to 1 and 40 to 1. I mean, that's a huge difference. So always shop around, especially on these MVP numbers.
Yeah, definitely. Truer words never spoken. Let's get into game 1 here. Of course, it goes down tomorrow. It is Garrett Cole for the Yanks. It is Jack Flaherty for the Dodgers. You saw the matchup graphic a bit earlier. I had to put Fernando Valenzuela on there. Rest in peace to the absolutely phenomenal lefty who I grew up watching and admiring. Yanks plus 108 as I look at FanDuel now. Dodgers minus 126. Total 8.5. Minus 114 on the over. Unders minus 106. Mitch, I'll start with you here. What do you got for the series opener?
Yeah, so I just waxed poetic about Aaron Judge and how I thought the Yankees are going to win the World Series. I love the Dodgers in game 1. I'm going the complete opposite direction. Now, there could be a Jack Flaherty blow-up, but I think Garrett Cole and Jack Flaherty are a lot closer to even pitchers than we're willing to admit in 2024. Cole, definitely the best pitcher in the series. Flaherty might be number 2. I'm willing to call that close to even. And I've been fading Garrett Cole all playoffs, not that successfully, because he has had blow-ups in the playoff before as well. A couple years ago, I think he let up like 5 runs in an inning and a bit to the Red Sox. He's kind of due for one of those. And even when he's great in the playoffs, he's still been like a 4 FIP guy. Ethan talked about how good the Dodgers offense has been coming into this series, 7.6 runs per game. I think the Yankees were averaging like 5.6 in their ALCS. And the big thing for me, Tony mentioned the batter versus pitcher matchups. Those all favor the Dodgers tonight. Anthony Rizzo's like the only good Yankee hitter against Jack Flaherty, but it's like half the Dodgers lineup crushes Garrett Cole, which is an impressive thing to do against Garrett Cole. So as much as I think the Yankees are going to win this whole series, I think they're going to go down 0-1 tonight.
Hey, man, if it's going 7 games, then one of them. Ethan, over to you.
Yeah, I'd be tailing Mitch on quite a bit of that logic. I do like the Dodgers in game 1. On the money line, I like the over 8.5 runs as well. Specifically to unravel the thread of Garrett Cole there, I like the over 2.5 earned runs on Garrett Cole as a player prop. You can actually get that at even money. So when we broke down the batter versus pitcher splits, the Dodgers are actually kind of weak against Garrett Cole, like 655 OPS and like a massive sample size. But if you peel that layer, a little bit further, it's like Kevin Kiermaier has like 55 at bats against Garrett Cole, and he has like 3 hits or something. So that drags the whole thing down. In reality, as Mitch mentioned, Enrique Hernandez, Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts all have really, really good numbers against Garrett Cole. So I like that quite a bit. And then on the other end, Mitch touched on this too. Anthony Rizzo has really good splits against Jack Flaherty. I think he's 9 for 21 with like a 1,500 OPS. Rizzo, injured most of the season or ineffective, has actually been quite good in the postseason. He has, I think, only 1 extra base hit, but like 6 singles. So I really like him to get a hit at minus 135. I'm surprised you can find that type of value. So I'm, beyond the Dodgers money line, I'm really just sticking to player props for this one.
All right, so you guys like the Yankees for the series, Dodgers for game 1, especially Mitch. Do you like the Dodgers enough in game one to wait to bet the Yankees for the series and say, you know what, I'm not going to bet the series line until they're down 0-1 and I can get a little bit of a discount? Or do you do both? Do you bet before the series starts and then if they go down 0-1, you kind of double up? How are you approaching that?
That's exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly what I came into today doing. I already have a little bit on the Yankees. I have like a 1,600 future from a while ago on the Yankees that I'm kind of sitting on. If they lose game one, I'm doubling down. This is not a cash out situation for Mitch. This is a wait for them to lose game one, double down for that exact reason. I think it's could end up biting me in the ass, but I've been bitten in the ass before, so I'm willing.
No hedge for you, huh?
No.
Chips are in the middle of the table. I like it.